Welcome to the first Focus on Fridays mini film festival. It's a kind of lunch and learn that I wanted to set up to provide good content and good inspiration and good impact for issues that are facing a lot of people around the space these days. So I wanted to talk about specifically around homeless issues because it's coming up to Thanksgiving, and everybody's interested in jumping out for Thanksgiving to volunteer and try to create impact. So I'd like to welcome over Cark Moore from Unsheltered Utah.
Hello. Thank you, Brian. This is awesome. Excited.
Cool. So we're going to watch a quick film that we made a couple of years ago to talk about the overnight movie nights, and then we'll have a quick chat after that. So I'm just going to share my screen and rock and roll.
You know, a lot of people aren't safe out there. People are crying for help.
This was a project that I felt really strongly had immediate and really direct impact.
Local nonprofits telling us at least 4 people have died this week. These bitter cold temperatures can be deadly to the most vulnerable in our community.
Knowing that an open building is the difference between life and death, literally that night.
Tonight, dozens of people experiencing homelessness in Salt Lake City found a warm place to spend the night.
I'm inside the First United Methodist Church in downtown Salt Lake, where for the 3rd night in a row, they're hosting an overnight movie night. So Salt Lake City's most vulnerable can escape the cold and find a warm place to stay on our coldest nights.
It's not the fact that it was a movie night. It's the fact that there was help here. And there's desolate people out there that needed the help, that couldn't find anywhere else.
I could get behind this project completely because I could see the absolute value of it. There's nothing quite as horrible as waking up and finding out somebody else that you know literally froze to death last night.
Wendy sent out the text. 30 minutes later, she said, I got a church, and 4 hours later, we opened the doors at 8 p.m. the first night. And so that's how we got started.
It's really a collaboration of a lot of different people coming together, you know, to provide a safe, comfortable place for people to spend the night.
During the pandemic, we had to kind of rethink why we were downtown here. So we came up with the statement
to turn closed doors into open tables where everyone belongs.
And shortly after we did that, the coalition knocked on our door and said, would you open your doors?
And so this was just a natural fit for us to literally be able to open our doors and to invite our neighbors in to a space where they could belong, where they could be safe, where they could have community. And it's just been such a blessing to be able to do this.
I heard that Second Second was doing this, hosting the overnight movie nights for the homeless, and I wanted to be involved.
When I saw what they were doing, I wanted to be a part of it because I think it was really special.
The first night, I think it was like 65 people came in, and then after that, we regularly had 85 people come in from the dangers of the cold here in Salt Lake City.
I'd come to a place where I had nowhere else to turn.
When our guests arrive, it's kind of chaotic when they're first arriving. It's a whole lot of activity. They're settling in, they're getting food until they can finally settle down. And then the time comes, about 2 o'clock in the morning.
There's this magical time of night when almost everyone is asleep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, listen to that.
And just listening to people snoring.
It's a symphony. It's beautiful. It's a symphony.
I'm thinking, like, these are a bunch of people who really needed a good night's sleep.
Every night that I worked, I made sure that I found that moment when a group of individuals felt secure to sleep in the same space and sleep soundly. And that was one of my most beautiful memories.
The success of this is the community that we've built. We have proven, hopefully, to people that this is what community looks like. This is what should be satisfying for us as a family, just being good to each other.
We're able to open our doors on these bitterly cold nights and keep people safe and from freezing. I hope we can continue that. That's certainly an important aspect of what we are as a church.
When I got here, there was compassion, sincerity with empathy. You're accepting everybody as they are. You're feeding, you're clothing, you're sheltering. And that's beautiful. Made me feel welcome and at home. And I feel I was guided here, to tell you the truth.
Oh, well, that was the film, about the little short documentary about the overnight movie nights. So again, there's all this call for innovative solutions. There's a lot of things that are working and a lot of things that aren't working when we're talking about building communities around helping homeless, unsheltered people. And this is certainly one of the most innovative ideas that I ever saw. So I was just wondering, can you maybe tell us about how it came about, Carl?
Yeah, I mean, initially it came about from a group of people that we met each other during doing advocacy work. A majority of us, if not all of us, that had started this, minus the churches, during Standing Rock or the Trump administration, and then Black Lives Matter. We were all out there doing things together, and all of those things, those were all things of taking care of people and looking out for people, looking out for the most vulnerable people that there are, like Black Lives Matter, immigration rights, refugee rights, LGBTQIA rights, all of those things. So we knew of each other. And then Black Lives Matter, as a big movement, or a majority of the people kind of morphed into helping out the unsheltered community. We saw violence being done upon the unsheltered community, like real violence, like actual physical violence, and definitely mental violence, psychological violence done to those people that are done by the police in Salt Lake City and all over. But so that it's the same matter of the police overstepping their bounds, not being able to regulate themselves, and committing violence upon people. So we knew of each other, and then we had been working with the unsheltered community, for about two years. Just doing things with them, feeding them, loving them, making sure that they were safe from the police in Salt Lake City, from the police abatements and all of those things. And it became wintertime, and we heard about a church that was in Provo that was doing this movie night thing. And this was something that and the reason why we did it movie night was just to kind of work around the system. To say that, hey, these are just people coming in and they're watching a movie, so it wasn't like a shelter. It was people coming in, watching a movie, and if they just so happen to fall asleep, they fall asleep, right? So Wendy Garvin, who was our executive director at Unsheltered Utah, made a call out to myself, to Dave John, to Ksenia, I think a couple other people, and then also a former, I think his name is Brian Diggs, who was a former pastor at First United Methodist and is now and does this thing that they do, which is I can't remember what the program is, but basically they actually have been housing people, unsheltered families, in churches, in these Protestant churches, and got them together. And then Wendy made that call to him, and he said, I think I have a church in mind. They talked to the church. We coordinated, and just like Dave said in that movie, within 4 hours, we got accepted, and we put everything together, and that we could, and we took in 65 people one night. And then after that, it turned into, we got things going, and 85 people a night. And then after First United Methodist, after the first year, the second year, we have St. Mark's Episcopal, which is just right up the street, who have volunteered also to open up their doors, which I just want to give a good shout out and just a heartfelt thanks to those churches, Christian churches who are actually doing what I call the Christian thing, which is actually letting people come in, actually being Christian. So that's how it came about, and we're still going.
No,
Luckily,
totally. And it's an incredible program. And I've been lucky enough to come along and make the video and learn about the great stuff we're doing, because there's a lot of hurdles that are put in the way, from the legality and all these things that are put in the way that we can't open up. You just open up your doors. Anyone who's got an empty space, let's just open up our doors and see who, what we can, just to provide that space. But again, there's lots of legality, so you have to kind of jump through all the hoops. And it's just such a beautiful thing to decide, hey, no, it's just a movie night, And one of the things I love about in that video is the quote is, at a certain point around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, you get the Symphony of Snores. And it's just a gorgeous little moment that really brings the humanity to it, to see just how safe these people feel within that space. Because we do need to come together as a community to help people that are unfortunate than us. And there was a quote that I heard last week from the executive director of the Other Side Academy, and he was talking. He said, so it's certainly not my quote, but I thought it was very interesting that if I want to become a brain surgeon, how do I become a brain surgeon? Another brain surgeon will teach me how to do it. If I want to become a mechanic, another mechanic is going to teach me how to do it. Even if you want to become a sandwich artist at Subway, another Subway guy is going to teach you how to make that sandwich. But within the homeless situation and the unsheltered areas, it's not that case. It's very rare that we reach out to people that have had that lived experience and say, how can we help? Tell us what we need, And a lot of times it is, people that have never been homeless and have no understanding, no connection to what that is, that they're making the laws, making the decisions, making all the stuff to try. And fantastic. That is fantastic. That is needed. But really what I see is more needed is to reach out and ask those questions. How can we help you? Tell us what to do. So on that standpoint, what do you think is the biggest thing that needs to change in order to end homelessness?
It's our perception. It's our selfish perception. It's our society. It's culture. They are the most vulnerable community, and when I say the most vulnerable community, people will say, well, no, there's like trans people. There's undocumented immigrants, there's, people that are disabled, and and that probably comes to people's minds, but all of those people are in the unsheltered community. So all of those people need to be treated with respect. And I'm a firm believer, and us, it says Second Coalition, and this is why we have the medicine wheel, as surrounding that 2 and 2 with the cross in the middle, is it's we're all related, and we have a moral responsibility to love each other, and our society in general allows people to die. And this is something this is a harsh reality, is that there are laws against keeping animals out in the cold. You can get a ticket, you can get a fine for having an animal out in the cold, that you don't take them in, but yet we keep people outside on the streets and do not allow them certain things that can keep them safe and alive during the wintertime because of laws or ordinances in Salt Lake City in particular. So generally we got to get a different perspective of people and eliminate the negative stereotypes, or the stereotypes of people that are unsheltered, because I promise they're 100% false. Like, you can go to any one of those people, any one of those relatives, and you can have a conversation with them, and you will see it's not what I thought. Not everybody is any kind of negative stereotype. And so we've really got to learn how to, we have grown accustomed, we've become desensitized. We see people on the streets and we think somehow it's their fault or they have somewhere to go, but they're just not choosing to go there. That is not true. You know, they're like, and that's why we opened up our doors, because a lot of people that come to our place are people that are not allowed in the shelters. They're not allowed there, or they don't feel comfortable there, or their abusers are there. But we provide a safe place. And just a note that I'm very proud of is I think that we called the police about 3 times the first year that we had it open. 3 times the whole time, and not all of those were for anything. And sometimes those were, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, and normal shelters, they get calls. They get like 5 or 6 calls a night. But because of the community that we've built, because of the trust that we have, we're not paid. We love people, and they come in and they know that they are loved and cared for, because we're there, because we can be and we want to be, and we love people. And that's another issue, is just actually loving people, actually seeing people, actually listening to people. A lot of our nights are spent listening.
Exactly. And again, that's the beauty. It's like just being able to, make eye contact, and reach out your hand and just connect with people, because there's so many issues that can lead to the end piece of why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and people just don't realize that. So on that, we're moving into Thanksgiving next week, and everyone's starting to think about, how can I volunteer, how can I give back. So what would you say is the smallest thing that anyone can do to create the most genuine positive impact?
Is looking at people. Like you said, it's just generally looking at people. It's genuinely smiling at people. It's saying hello. It's asking people their story. It's talking to people. That is the least that you can do. Don't ignore people. They get ignored all the time, and not only ignored, but like purposefully, again, by people in authority, who are the people that are there to protect and serve. They are violated by them. So in the very least, love people. Give somebody a hot drink during hot chocolate, hot coffee, whatever, during the winter time. Carry around with you like hand warmers. Hand warmers are great. Blankets, coats.
As well.
Socks. Like socks are such a beautiful thing. If you think about it, wearing the old same pair of socks forever, or underwear, socks, those things, give them something new that they can put on, because again, like, showers aren't available. And if they want to take a shower, they got to pay like $18 at Flying J, if they're allowed. A lot of times they're not even allowed to do that, so I don't know. Those are the minimum things that you can do, but there's a lot of organizations that are doing amazing things. Like our organization, Unsheltered Utah, Coconut Hut's doing amazing things. There are people that are doing good things, but at the minimum, say hi to people, set up some kind of a hot chocolate stand, go to the block, go to Pioneer Park, just be there, also do not be insulted if people have like bad attitudes or whatever, because hey, it's hard to be trusted, and do not act condescending. Do not act like they need to be helped by you. Do not act like that, because these are human beings. These are our relatives. This is you and I in a different situation, and they don't necessarily have the network that we have or have had. Like, I could have been homeless so many times, but I have a network of people that have taken care of me, and they're taking care of me right now. In fact.
Exactly. So we're coming up to the end. We're just trying to keep these to nice, short and sweet little bits for people to eat their lunch, get some impact, positive connection. And so, but where can people get involved? If they want to get involved with the overnight movie nights or anything, how can they contact you, and how can they get involved?
So just follow us, Unsheltered Utah, on Instagram, Unsheltered Utah on Facebook. I think Unsheltered Utah on the website. Once we're waiting for it to get below 25 degrees, and we'll open up our doors. But once you get in contact there one time, then we'll just notify you, hey, this is when we're opening up, because it is sporadic, because we don't know when the weather is going to change or get cold enough. But just please follow us. There's so many different opportunities to help. One of the key things is just coming out. You don't even have to engage with people if you don't want to engage with people. There are things that you can do, but I promise that once you are there, that you will have a deeper sense of the reality of life and the reality of death. Actually, like this is so upsetting to me that actually in Utah, that people are objecting to a church, a Protestant church, opening up, the Presbyterian church opening up their doors to let people live. This is life and death. This is not convenience. This is not the time to say people made bad choices. And like I said, those choices that you see people making, some of those choices are self-medicating, are self-preservation choices. Because for them, in order to find that will to live, sometimes they need to do some things that we would say are detrimental to their health and stuff like that. But if we want them to live, maybe we need to let them get into that place, and let's show them love, because until someone's loved, they're not going to feel good about themselves. And if they don't feel good about themselves, why are they going to be sober or look for help, mental health things or like that, But I promise, do not believe all this negative stereotypes. Get to know the person that you are talking to, and
exactly.
Please come help us out. It'll soften your heart. It'll soften your soul.
Totally. Well, thanks so much for all these great
Thank you,
impacts
Brian.
and inspiration, Carl. So remember, if you want to get involved, you can find Unsheltered Utah across all the different social media platforms. You can also reach out to me, Brian Higgins, with Mental Healthy Fit. And I hope that you enjoyed our first Focus on Fridays, and we'll be back in December. So thank you all very much, and have a wonderful time. Thank you.
Yeah, many blessings. Thank you.